let's cut through the chase. Just give me some money. Um, so money is still a problem, and I think innovation programs have to take those into cognizance as well. You just have to be selective about who you fund based on some really strict metrics, but innovators in this ecosystem need help. Next. Access to talent and resources. You know, when you work around here for a while, you know, the first thing you realize is you could actually hire and fire people every day in Ghana. I don't know if you guys have experienced that. I just got to a point where I said, well, you have to actually train them. Sad enough, but you have to. There's no already made folks walking around that you can plug and play. So I think the innovators in this ecosystem need help. The other thing we haven't done a good job with is at 60 years old, you're asked to go home in the prime of your life. 60 is the new 40. They ask you to go home. And I've seen a lot of 60-year-olds on retirement walking around in the malls. They don't really know what to do with themselves. Can we harness the experiences that these people have? In Copenhagen, I worked with a gentleman who was a retired investor and was brought in to mentor young graduates from the Danish Technical Institute. And now they have, in 15 years, they have a company that has gone global. That's 3Shape. Okay, you go in there and he's sitting there like a godfather. Can we use the same talent here? Okay. Our business people need help with financial management. Our innovators need help with accounting. I talked about the organizational structure. They need some advisory, ongoing basis, and M&E. So I think these are some areas that we can actually help, and there is talent available. You know, I did product development for 16 years. I'm still a product developer at heart, not a university president. Nobody has ever asked me to come sit on their board and help them with anything. Maybe that changes from today. But not too many, because then again, I will not be able to bring value, you know. I don't just want to be on a board for the sake of being on the board. I want to make sure that there's added value. Next one, please. So policy. We need strong policy and regulatory framework. Sometimes consultants from abroad or multinational organizations and NGOs do a better job shifting the post in this country than locals. And that is a fact. Okay, we shouldn't pretend about it. So we need help. And I'm looking in this direction because I see a lot of experts on that side. We need help. We need fair trade practices. Okay. I wrote somewhere a couple of months ago that if you produce rice and you import it, produce corn, but import it, produce cassava, but import it, chicken, but import it, what you need is not God. You need a psychiatrist. A psychologist. But those are real things we need. You know, if you develop the products from your innovative ecosystem and you can't sell them locally because the market is flooded by Chinese products. That's one. And two, we have not put premium on our people. If they were going to jail for it, then you have less accidents. But then again, because without e-levy, government have no way of collecting taxes from you, so they can't put value on you. You know? So those are things that we need. We really need. We need the money. We need to. And by the way, I'm not supporting e-levy. I think I wouldn't know where that money will go to. So let's promote investments. You know, let's encourage access to loans and grants. If you look at the US, when I worked in R&D was completely incentivized. If Siemens invested in R&D or Becton and Dickinson invested in R&D, at the end of the year, they file taxes, they get some money back. If you work in a fast food place like I did for several years, flipping burgers, government is incentivized to hire high school students. McDonald's was incentivized to hire high school students and college students to work for them. So there is a role that government can play. And again, as our NGO friends can help us convince them that there is room for that. Government can invest in capital for equity. Just get them started, and then you buy them out. Promote investment behaviors, right? In Ghana, and I can speak for my students, they just go around begging for screws, nuts and bolts, and they are struggling because even the university systems do not understand that you have to make such provisions for the students to be able to build early prototypes and stuff like that. We continue to encourage them to get a certificate and go get a job. The question we don't answer is who is going to create that job for them. So if you come to Academic City University College, you do 4 modules in entrepreneurship. And when your parents ask me whether you are going to get a job or not, I tell them, you are going to create a job for others. I think that's my last slide, please. So that is essentially it. I apologize for the hiccups. Any questions, insights will be appreciated. So the need to support the early stage cannot be overemphasized. And the message is at the same time, the innovators have to put structure around them, because it is only with that kind of structure that it's easy to really articulate your value proposition and get the needed support that you need to realize your ideas. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Mark Bagunlure, for that concise, straightforward message. And his presentation is so direct, touched on important things. Intellectual property. I just came into contact with intellectual property, I think a year ago from MESTI. And it's an area that you would marvel. I mean, we are doing so much, but we have less information on intellectual property and how to also register our innovations. It's a whole area. So I'll be waiting for Mr. Wachi to also come from MESTI to give us some few thoughts on that. And the issue of adding value to knowledge. There was some time ago, somewhere last 2 years, a whole professor at CSIR woke up one day, the CSIR bungalows around cantonments, woke up one day and there were, earth-moving machines trying to dig or more or less break her accommodation down because that whole space has been sold to some investors, some Chinese people who wanted to put up some facilities. So 3 or 4 of those staff bungalows of CSR was going to be pulled down and given to some people, and they've not been spoken to. So putting value on knowledge is one issue that we need to also look at. And then the last but not the least, I was looking at the policy and then the regulatory framework. We have someone from FDA here to also give us some a little bit on the policy and then the regulatory in terms of aligning our things to standards. So we will be looking at that. So I would want to move on. Do we have some questions for our keynote presenter? He was so straightforward. He's really a teacher. He teach you, or he presents in such a way that you have less to talk about. Okay, but yes, let me give you this. So
right.
Your name and where you come, so that by way of introduction.
All right, thank you. My name is William Brown Akwe. I'm head of department for the Information Technology Department at Ghana Communication Technology University. And I'm happy to be here. And thanks, Prof, for your presentation. Very concise and very straight to the point. I just want to make a comment on the research side of it. And a lot of time we talk of innovation, and innovation comes out of research. And I firmly believe in that. And one area I think we overlook in Ghana is the research side of it, right? There are faculty members, lecturers, researchers who will tell you being a researcher in Ghana is almost a sacrifice for poverty. I mean, but we need to emphasize the research side and component of innovation. We cannot innovate if we don't look into how to build products and learn from our mistakes. Unfortunately, I mean, research allowance for a lecturer in Ghana is a pittance. It's 2,000 cedis, and you're expected to come out with research. Most faculty do research to get promotion, and they are not looking at innovation. It costs too much money. There's no incentive in it. Yes, as Prof said, money is important, and we are not saying it's only about money. The resources, bolts and screws, as Prof said, right? Yes, we need to focus on that. And there's a gap where I see when it comes to innovation, and that is where is the linkage between research and innovation. And I think it's something that we need to look into as a discussion today. Research is necessary. It is important. Any organization, any country that is not invested in research is doomed to fail, because you're always going to be buying technology from those who have done that research. And those who do that research will not sell it to you for cheap, because they've invested time and money and effort. And for us to be able to get into that ecosystem of innovation, we need to build and strengthen our research focus as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. From, is it Ghana Telecom? Ghana Communication University. Yes. Technology. Yes. Okay. All right.
Thank you. So my name is Solomon Chung. I work with Reach for Change as a country manager. Prof, thank you for the thoughts you've shared. My question is, you seem to have touched a lot on what ecosystem players can do to support. But I'm also curious to know what you think in terms of the role that entrepreneurs themselves or startups can also play to propel them to the next level.
I think this is a direct question. If I get one more direct question, then I'll ask Prof to respond. Yes, Madam, for the British Council.
British High Commission. Thank you. Thank you so much. Professor, that was a fantastic presentation. I really enjoyed it. One of the questions I had was, I was having this conversation with someone earlier on, and one of the statements we find when we talk to investors is that they say there's not a shortage of money, there's a shortage of good projects. So I wanted to really understand what your views are in terms of that statement, whether there's a shortage of money or whether there's actually a shortage of good projects. Thank you.
Thank you. I can see a link from your question with Hess from the business itself. Yes.
Okay, so let me start from what entrepreneurs themselves can do. You know, I think that entrepreneurs are usually self-selected. So, for instance, when I started my entrepreneurship program, I was wondering whether it should be compulsory for everybody or allow people to self-select. So, if they self-select, there's a level of energy and enthusiasm that comes with it for success. So, look, I think sometimes you have to start off from your own savings. When I started the ventilator project, I spent the first $4,000 was my own money. Now, don't ask me what would have happened if I didn't have 4,000 in the bank. Families and friends. If you look at how it's done in the developed world, family and friends believe in the idea, they pitch in, and you keep moving. Because sometimes it has to take a bank more than just a business proposal on paper. They really want to see prototypes. You should at least try to get to the prototype stage. Now, I also mentioned earlier that a young kid who wants to be the Elon Musk of Africa came to me looking for help. So part of the entrepreneurial enthusiasm is the courage to go out there and ask for help. Never stop asking for help. I tell my students that all the time. If you are embarrassed for asking for help, something is pathologically wrong with you, okay? You should ask for help. Sometimes you can get your ideas into university research. Again, the framework is not there. we have not been able to find a way to transition ideas from the university environment into industry or from industry to the university. But those are opportunities. So I think, you know, you have to demonstrate leadership, and the leadership is to be brave enough to go out there and find partnership, to be brave enough to go out there and present your ideas to the right set of audience. And also, as I indicated, the kids are afraid to share their ideas because they think they will get stolen. That is all transitional. You know, my guidance to them is, if you have a great idea now, you will always have a great idea. Don't worry about this one being stolen. Nobody can ever do your idea the way that you would have done it yourself. So there is still opportunity for that. Now, on your question, whether there is money and there is ideas, what I hear from my environment is that we are not short of ideas. We can't find funding because nothing seems to come out of there. But there is a chasm. There's a chasm between the Ghana industries and our university system. We need a handshake. Because if you go to KNUST and you look at senior design projects when the students are finishing, you can take a bunch of them into commercialization. You go to Accra Technical, you see same. So I really don't know how this transition happens, but there are good product ideas. Now, there's a lady here that came up to me a couple of weeks ago, and she seems to be doing exactly that, or trying to do that for the healthcare space. Try to figure out what ideas are in the universities and how she can transition them into industry. So I think we have to be deliberate. The other point I'm going to make, a little bit of controversy now that I have a government official here, is that, look, our university system receives subsidies and supports from government. We have never held them to any M&Es. Never. We never tell Legon, for this money you get from government, every year you need to produce 60 patents, 120 journal publication, 6 startups. And it is possible. You know, the human animal thrives best under adversity. If you don't believe me, look at what is happening in Ukraine. When you have to fight under pressure, you would. So I think we are too comfortable, and we need to stop being comfortable and move. I saw a product on TV recently of a crib. And I tried to reach out to the kids that designed the crib, the rotating crib, right? That can take a bunch of babies. And I think it's Wode Maya, one of these influencers. And I sent him a mail. I said, can you get me in contact with these guys? I could help them with product development, and they could bring this product to the global marketplace. I'm still waiting. So do we have anybody in our setup, whether it's MESTI, wherever it is, that when such ideas come into the public space, there's a deliberate effort to actually help them incubate the idea and bring it to the marketplace? That is how you create jobs. So somehow, somewhat, we just need to sit down with a pen or a pencil and a piece of paper and just answer the simple question: what do we want to be when we grow up? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we are doing well with time. The answer was just straightforward. Those with other questions, we would move it after the presentation from Dr. Yao Bediako, CEO of Yimachi Biotechnology, to give us the Yimachi journey, how supportive was the innovation and research ecosystem in Ghana to be good with time. So those with questions, you can write them down at the appropriate time. We will open it up.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Oh, I don't. I just have a notepad. I don't have any slides because I actually wasn't entirely clear what I was supposed to talk about today. But I think some communication fell through the cracks. So when I saw the thing, I was like, oh, I'm set to give a plenary or a keynote. So bear with me if I'm slightly less organized than I would be, but I'm asked to talk about my startup, so that should be easy. I've been pitching for 2 years, so that should be straightforward. So what I'm going to I left Ghana in 2000, came back in 2019. So spent almost 20 years away. I left after high school, went to college in the US, followed up with a PhD. Did 2 postdocs, one in Kenya, one in London, and then found my way back to Ghana, to the University of Ghana. So the story starts when I came back to Ghana, 2018, 2019, joined WACBIP, who we've become quite famous because of COVID and sequence, end up becoming director of WACBIP one day. I mean, I'm an ambitious person, so I don't see the point of doing something if you're not ambitious. So my goal in coming back was, Prof. Awandare brought me back, but he's going to go on to bigger and better things, as he has. He's now Pro Vice Chancellor. So there'll be a new need for a new director of WACBIP, and why not me? So that's why I came back to Ghana. But after 6 months of being in the University of Ghana, I realized I wasn't sure if that was actually my path anymore. Anybody who's worked in universities, public or private, but usually, especially public, you get frustrated very easily with the pace of things. Now, I'm a scientist. Science is fast-paced. If you are slow in science, you get left behind. You cannot be internationally competitive. And I came to Ghana not to be a Ghanaian scientist. I came to Ghana to be an internationally competitive scientist who happened to work in Ghana. And that's a very important distinction. So I began to ask myself, what else could I do? I spent all these years training to be a scientist. My skill set is deep, but it's pretty limited, right? I mean, you get a PhD, all of a sudden you price yourself out of many jobs because people say we can't afford you. And you have very specialized skills, but it's in a particular area. And in Ghana, if you have a PhD in the sciences, the real job for you is to teach at the university. Really, there's nothing else that most people would think of. And I looked around and I saw all these great students that were producing at WACBIP who are becoming PhDs. And we're losing them. We basically turned our brain drain into a more expensive version of the old one. My generation and generations before me, you lost us at high school. We went to the US, we never came back. Now we're training people to get a PhD, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on them. And then they leave and they have no job, so they stay away. So we've actually just made our brain drain more expensive. But as well, I've lost them at high school and let America invest in their tertiary education. Now we invest in their tertiary education and then we lose them because there's nothing for these highly trained, highly skilled people to do. So I was at risk of going back away. I was getting to a point where I can't stay here anymore. And then I thought, you know what? No, I came to Ghana because I really wanted to come back to Ghana. I'm not going to be that guy who goes back with my tail between my legs that I failed. Because, everybody there is waiting for you to come back and say, yeah, we told you it was too frustrating. And Prof probably knows this. Everybody out there is like, why are you going back home? You will come back and tell us that we were right. So I was determined not to be one of those people. And so I asked myself, what could I do? And of course, being exposed to the US and in Europe, I knew about biotech. Biotech is commercial science. It's a $500 billion a year industry. It is how we get all these innovations. Somehow in Africa, in Ghana and much of Africa, we don't know biotech. We think of research, we think of Noguchi. We think of, public, typically academic research, which is important, but that's not the only area of biomedical research. And Prof talked about patents. I just looked it up as he was talking. In 2020, China filed 1.4 million patent applications. Malaysia, who we like to compare ourselves to, filed 1,444. Ghana filed 12. All right. So that, I don't think we have to say anything else about patents. We're just not producing any research output. And it's not just Ghana. In general, research output, Africa accounts for about just under 1% of global research output. So we talk a lot about capacity building. The last 10, 15 years, World Bank has pumped $500 million or even more than that into building centers of excellence. WACBIP is one of these centers of excellence. Ghana has at least 3. They've done this all over the continent. Wellcome Trust, DFID, or now, UKCDR. All of this, NIH, they've all pumped money into capacity building, and yet we still make less than 1% of the research output. It means there's a problem. We're thinking only about training and not thinking about what these people do when they're done. So I decided to try to do something about that. It was either do that or probably end up draining back out. And so I began to ask myself, what could I do? And the thing I came up with, I want to set up a biotech company. I want to keep doing research because that's what I'm good at and what I enjoy doing. But I don't want to do it with the constraints of an academic system and also in the inherently unsustainable way that we do research in this country. All the research in Ghana is funded externally. All. And I don't say this, I'm not exaggerating. It is all. Noguchi, the name tells you where the money is coming from. It's primarily funded by the Japanese government. If you walk into Noguchi, which I have worked there, You walk in, every instrument has a Japanese flag on it. Gift of the people of Japan. Now we're grateful. The new building, $25 million from the Japanese government. Okay. KCCR in Kumasi is German. WACBIP is a hodgepodge of money from the Wellcome Trust, from the World Bank, from all these places. I've never received money from the Ghana government for any research I've ever done. And I think most of my colleagues are probably the same. Right? So Ghanaian research is externally funded, which means the agenda is set outside. Just as COVID hit, I lost a £300,000 grant. Not because I didn't win it. It was from the Royal Society in the UK. Highly prestigious. Spent 9 months in multiple interviews trying to get this grant. I won it, but the letter said, we're so sorry, the UK government has cut ODA. And so there is no money for the Royal Society to disburse. So we're really proud of you, but we can't give you any money. Now, thank you for the pride, but I don't need, pride doesn't put food on my table. And the gentleman just told you what university lecturers make. Without research, I'm sorry, you're not going to attract anybody to come back. Who's going to come back after spending 20 years studying to come and make 3,000 cedis a month? I mean, it's insulting. My wife saw the, my wife is not Ghanaian, but when she saw my appointment letter, she laughed and said, the Vice Chancellor must be kidding that he signed this. But thankfully, I had research grants, so I could pay myself. So for 2 years, I was paying my own salary because I had research grants. But anyway, that's not what I'm talking about. But I'm painting the picture of, I think Prof said it best. There's usually, there's a trigger that makes somebody become an entrepreneur. I was an academic. I still am an academic. I never thought of myself as an entrepreneur. Ghana made me an entrepreneur because of the frustration and the challenges that I faced. And I hope that what we can do in creating an ecosystem is to give more people the opportunity to become entrepreneurial. Because I think that is what is going to take for us to move on. We cannot just wait for government. Government has to do its part. But I think we need to make an environment where entrepreneurs who have ideas can take matters into their own hands and can move forward. So in 2020, a group of us founded Yamachi. Yamachi is a cancer research company, a cancer biotech company based here in Accra. Yamachi is trying to do something about a serious problem we have globally, which is precision medicine, precision oncology, is skewed predominantly towards Caucasians because nearly all the research has been done in people of European ancestry. 78% of genomic data publicly available is Caucasian. 2% comes from people of African descent. And yet we account for what? 20-something of the world's, 20-something% of the global population. The African continent is also the most genetically diverse human population anywhere in the world. Nearly all global diversity you can find among the people who live in Africa, east, west, north, south. So Africa is the best place to actually study human genomes. If you study African genomes, you actually learn something about Caucasians, you learn something about Asians, you learn something about Latin Americans. Because at the end of the day, evolutionarily, guess what? We're all African. We all started in Africa and then it began to migrate out. We just look different on the surface of the skin. But in actual fact, if you go back far enough, African genomes reflect global genomic diversity. But unfortunately, Africans have been left behind. And so when you talk about precision medicine, precision oncology, all these new targets, all these new immunotherapies we hear about are largely work best in people of European ancestry and work worst in people of African descent. Now, cancer is a growing problem. I'm sure everybody here has a story of somebody. I lost my dad to cancer. A number of people have lost relatives or know of somebody who has cancer. 1 million people get cancer every year in Africa, at least. 700,000 of those people die every year. Cancer kills more people in Africa than malaria. And yet all our research, because it is externally funded and is driven by global health sort of views on what Africa needs healthcare-wise, all our research is infectious disease. We do hardly any non-communicable disease research. And yet our people are dying of cancer, of diabetes, of heart disease. We are not 60 years ago where you died before your 40s, and so what you had to worry about was malaria. Now our life expectancy is longer, which means NCDs, lifestyle diseases, diseases that hit you in your later years are becoming apparent. Now, if you think about cancer, cancer behaves differently in African people than it does in other people. African women present with breast cancer at a much younger age, for some reason, than Caucasian women. You hear about, get a mammogram in your 40s. There are women in Cape Coast who we are studying who are 27-year-olds with stage 4 breast cancer. A 27-year-old, that's unheard of. Now, is it genetics? Is it environment? We're still teasing it out. The bottom line is cancer here does not look like cancer there. And so till we start studying cancer here, we will not be able to help our people. So Yamachi is aiming to understand cancer from people of African descent. So that's the gap. Now, the opportunity I already hinted at. We're sitting on the gold mine of genomes in Africa. It's more valuable than gold, oil, all these other resources. The human genome in Africa reflects global diversity, which means if you can do it right, pharma companies in the US would love to get their hands on data from African populations, because it's not just for people of African descent, it's for everybody. So that's the opportunity. The African genome is extremely valuable in research. But of course, we want to position ourselves such that we're not exploiting. Right? It's not about harvesting a natural resource like cocoa and then importing chocolate. We want to build research capacity so that we can add value to the data that we are collecting, the raw material, and then bring ourselves to the global table to say, look, African data is important. We're not just going to take our data and use it and then come back and try to sell us something. We are going to be part of the process of developing it. And so in order to do that, we have to build capacity. So we planned, all right? I started talking to people in 2019, began to put a team together. I have a really rich team. I wish I had slides up, but you can look at our website, www.yamachi.com, YEMAACHI. It's actually Machi. So we say Yamachi, it sounds Japanese, so you can hide, oh, about the company is Japanese, they must be good. Turn out we're a bunch of Ghanaians and Nigerians and other Africans. But Yem in Frafra means knowledge. Amachi in Ever means health, or medicine, sorry. And Machi in Tree is good morning. Put it together, it's a new dawn for knowledge on health in Africa. That's what Yamachi stands for. So I put a team of people together and we began operations, or began pitching. Let me start with that. We began pitching in April of 2020. I am the CEO, but I'm a scientist. I haven't got Prof's background in business. I didn't know, well, now I do, but I didn't know what a KPI was, what is a safe, what is a convertible note. But I had to, you fake it till you make it. So I had to learn very quickly because I'm going to talk to business people and they expect me as a CEO to have a basic level of competence. Yes, the science is cute, but can you run a business? But I began pitching, and I'm happy to say after many no's, we began to hear a few yeses. We will talk later, I guess, about how it is to do it in Ghana. It's tough. A business like mine is not one that investors are used to hearing about. Many of them said, I love the vision. I really hope you succeed, but I don't see how I'm going to make any money, so I can't invest. So actually, the diaspora is where we had our best opportunities early on. Ghanaians, Nigerians, people living abroad, doctors, some of them were medical people, others were just working people who had a little bit of money to, maybe not put into their retirement account and said, I want to contribute to something that's revolutionary for Africa. And so the African diaspora is something for any entrepreneur in the room. If you're pitching to local investors and you're not getting any traction, tap into the African diaspora. The local investors are waiting for someone to invest before they'll come in. There are people who try to invest in me at twice the valuation, or in fact, at 1.5 times the valuation I had gone to them earlier on, because I had managed to raise some money from the diaspora. So we began to raise money. We got into Y Combinator. We were the only Ghanaian company in our batch in Y Combinator, and only one of 15 from the continent of Africa, out of 370, out of 15,000 applicants. All right, but that was great validation. Gave us, sort of view into, American VCs, and we've kept, trying to raise money. But raising money is just raising money. There are a lot of people who get caught up in, I've raised this. They are raisepreneurs. They just raise and raise and raise for the sake of raising. And I've learned very quickly, actually, YC teaches you this. It's not about how much money you've raised. That's not the value of your company. The value of your company is what your company is producing. And YC's tagline is make something people want. Do people want what you're making, and is your company succeeding at doing that? No matter what your supposed valuation is, those valuations are just paper. They're imaginary money anyway, if you think about it. So we've began operations. We have a lab in Abelempe. We are focused on molecular biology. We are interested in understanding cancer, like I said, from the African sort of genome. And we're looking to leverage that data to partner with pharma and biotech around the world to develop the next generation of diagnostic tests and immunotherapies that will, for once, include Africans. Not exclude other people, but will include us. Additionally, we're interested in molecular diagnostics. In our part of the world, there's very little molecular diagnostic capacity. Post-COVID, everybody knows what a PCR machine is. But PCR machines are used for much more than testing for COVID. In our part of the world, cancer diagnostics is mostly driven by histopathology. So they make a slide of the tissue and that's it. In Europe and North America, it's now mostly molecular. There are panels you can do looking at genes, looking at mutations, and all of this influences how you are treated. So we are looking to try to provide some of that locally as well. It's important that we're not just about research, but we need to translate that research into products that people can benefit from. So that is sort of where we are. We are currently, obviously, headquartered in Accra, but it's an African play. So we have activities. There are partners now in Nigeria. We're also in Kenya. And we're looking to scale as, God willing, we raise more money and we grow our team. But I would say again, we're not a Ghanaian company. We're not an African company. We are a global company that happens to be headquartered in Accra. And I think that's very important for many entrepreneurs to try to do. We are too happy to just, be a big fish in a small pond. We should be aiming to be a household name. When you think of Apple, most young people don't think of the fruit anymore. They think of a phone or a laptop, right? I want one day people to think Yamachi and think, those people doing that in remarkable cancer research. In fact, the face of cancer research maybe globally. I know I'm running out of time. I talk too much usually. It helps sometimes. But I will talk about challenges. It's not been it's not been easy, and it's still not easy. But I think that also makes it exciting. If it was easy, then everybody would do it, and so it wouldn't be worth doing, in my opinion. One of the biggest challenges has been the ecosystem, and we're talking here about has the ecosystem been supportive. My question is, what ecosystem? To be honest, I mean, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just being realistic. Until we accept that we don't have much of an ecosystem, we can't build one. So we need to be realistic about what we have. We don't have much of an ecosystem for innovation and research in this country. The fact that my company is probably the first, or at least one of the first, biotech startups really focused on research tells you that. Noguchi has been around since the 80s. We've been doing research in Ghana, but we've never made that transition away from just purely academic research for the sake of papers to translation. So the ecosystem has been difficult. Investors are not familiar with this, so it's very difficult to convince them that what you're doing makes sense, even though venture capital is pouring money into biotechs all the time in Silicon Valley or on the East Coast of the US. In Ghana, they're like, hey, what's that? It sounds too complicated. More opportunities locally. And perhaps we can be part of that movement. I hope that we can get to the point where we can begin to support other entrepreneurs. One thing I'll just put out, since we may have some government people, customs. For companies like us, we import 25% of my raise. GIPC, they are listening to us. I know there are mechanisms in place that we can apply my lifespan. All right? I don't have 6 months to wait for a machine. If I have the money in my pocket now, I order it, it comes in 2 days, and we start. Because I have investors who are waiting to see what's your traction. I can't tell them I'm waiting for the government for 6 months. They'll tell me, okay, sorry, we're going to invest in those people in Rwanda where things are like very snappy. So I think Ghana could maybe make things a little bit more conducive. But we're proud to be here. We're proud to be Ghanaian. And we want to be contributing. So I think maybe I'll end there. I hope I've given you a flavor of who we are, what we're trying to do. We're always looking for partners. I know British Council is here, or is it British High Commission? I don't know. High Commission, even better. So we're really excited about partnership. We have a Gates grant, actually, so we secured $1 million grant from the Gates Foundation, which was a big deal for a company that didn't exist a year ago. Your one way, it's not just investors. If you can do work and get grants, that's free money. No equity asked for. They just give it to you and say, please hit your targets, and we're fine with you. So grants, another thing that we're looking for. So if there are any people here who know of grants I can apply for, I'm very good at writing grants, so we will do that. But really excited to be here, happy to engage, answer any questions I can, and to learn from everybody here as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. from Yamachi. At least I can identify with the first one. Yem, I never knew medicine. The Machi, Dawn. Good. That's powerful, Yamachi. But when I saw it, it was more like some Noguchi-like name. All right, so your presentation is also straightforward. You gave us how you started yourself, and it came extempore. So do we have some questions or some few contributions? Let me pick just one so that, yes, madam.
Mine is very simple. So are you still at the university or have you quit? Are you still at the university or have you quit? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's so beautiful. I like that. I like that. So you are still in the university and you are out there. Okay, let me pick another contribution, the last one, so that we can. I think we are not doing too well with time. Yes. Oh, your hand was up earlier, so you deserve to go next after him.
Yeah, just a little contribution to what he said about the ecosystem. My name is Samakumea. I'm from KNUST. Okay. At least he is lucky that they have set up a private, equity. But if the university itself was to go into commercialization of these ideas, the procurement law alone is enough to make you very uncompetitive. And that if we are dealing with ecosystem and we want institutions, especially public institutions, that do research to commercialize, then that is a big issue. Because you go to the same market with the private sector who is also competing, and your machine, you have to go through procurement. Apart from the time wasting, it is also a higher cost. And at the end of the day, when you go to the market, your prices will be very high. Thank you.
My name is Samson Etiakun Amponsa from University of Environment and Sustainable Development. Yes. No, UESD, Sumenya. Yes. My is question and contribution at the same time. When Prof was doing his submission, he made mention of young entrepreneurs finding it challenging to get financial support. This is what I've also realized. Some entrepreneurs get financial support both locally and externally. But what they produce out there do not meet the taste of our local consumers. Citing this company, Ekunfi Pineapple Juice, as an example. It's a company government invested huge sums of money to finance it. But then within Cape Coast and its environs, when you are looking for their products, you will not even get them in the shops. Amin Sangari is situated at Cape Coast. Recently, they had about 6 million Ghana cedi support. The produce that they bring out, you can't even get them within Cape Coast Township. So there are certain challenges that our researchers will have to go into it. Why our local people do not patronize in the product produced in Ghana? Is it that the produce are not good, or you get a question? Good. Good. So, good. My contribution is that the researchers we have should do it into it. Why are our local consumers not patronizing our product? If it's about misconception, let's all do well and clear that misconception. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Because of time, I want to just hazard a distance to his question. Because me, my kids are always taking Ekunfi juice. And it is local. Maybe it is I see it more because of where I work. Okay, I'm Percy Anna Bukari, the MC for today. I'm the Vice President of Ghana Institute of Planners, and I'm the Managing Partner of DevPlan Consult, a research firm. So it's more about, the supply chain. It's about distribution. That is why you may not find it in Cape Coast. But maybe the supply chain, people are taking it to Accra. So the question is not local. Maybe you are talking about local, as in close to the environs of where the thing is produced. But a Kunfi juice is not everywhere. I was in Bolga, I was in Bunkrugu Yoyo. I was in Bunkrugu Yoyo from in between Walwale, Gambaga, Nalerugu to Nyankpanduru, to Bunkrugu itself, that stretch. I mean, the kids are taking a Kunfi juice. Then I went to the Inzima side, right from the junction from Princess Town, from Princess Town to Axim Junction, down to Kwame Nkrumah's Junction, Eziama Kekam, Nkrofo Junction, down to the new oil hub, to Atwabo. Then you can even go as far as Elembele, down to Elubo in Pataba Road. That whole stretch, the kids, we did some work on evaluation of this school feeding and a number of things. And they are using a Kunfi juice. Then you go to my own home, from Bolga through Navrongo to Sandema, down there to this thing, Yizesi. They are also using a Kunfi juice. So I think that one, maybe it is the supply chain. Yes, so we would want to move into the panel discussion. But before we do that, we want to acknowledge the presence of a number of people here. We will be doing it in series and sequence. I don't want to use the words because I have scientists here. So Dr. Collins Yebua Afari, Director for Kofi Annan IT Center. I think he's here. Can we acknowledge? Yes. Yes, thank you. Thank you for coming. We also have Mr. Kweku Esuman Kwanzaa, Country Director for Huawei. Oh, yes. Beautiful. Huawei. Are you from China? Okay. We also have Professor Ike Akowa from KNUST. Oh, Prof. Yes. We also have Professor Kweku Apia Edu. Oh, MNE. From the Office of the President. Let's see. Yes. MNE. Yes. Good. We have Professor Irene Ejiri, Dean of the School of Agric, University of Ghana. Yes. We also have reps from the Imperial College, Sarah and Ishmael. Yes, good. We are partnering with them on a number of projects. Then we have Dr. William Quay, Director CSR Stepri. Wilhelmina. Dr. Wilhelmina Quay from Stepri, CSIR. Let's see you. Oh, okay. Stepri, your office is behind Standard. Oh, okay. Thank you. All right, so we want to move into the panel discussion. The first here is we are looking at from the lab to the marketplace, the role of ecosystem players in advancing commerce. From the lab to the marketplace, in between there, what players would do. And we want to introduce Mr. Edwin Kujo as one of our panelists. Mr. Edwin Kujo is the Executive Director, Special Enterprise Ghana. With a round of applause, let's welcome him. Yes, so you take Miss Perlin Budu, the Country Manager for Glovo Ghana. Oh, Glovo. Wow. Glovo has become so popular that COVID, you sit in your home, you request anything you want, even food, hot kenke, Glovo will bring you. I'm a beneficiary of your. I have some TZB at Hacho. They bring me some all the time. Okay, so we also want to introduce Enyonam Kakani, Executive Director, Mirepa Capital Limited. Mirepa Capital Limited. Mirepa, oh, good time. Mirepa, oh, Mirepa. It's just like the Yamachi. Mirepa, and I'll say Mirepa. Oh no, this one, I will be castrated. Mr. Franklin Owusu Kakari, yeah, he's not here, but he's ably represented by, let me get the name right. The name is Mr. Bat Planche. I remember that one. Bat Planche. Yes. From the NEIP, National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program. Program, yeah? Yes. NEP. Oh, John Kuma was the first director. Eh? He's now a deputy minister. Okay. Then I think the last on the list is Nana Sewa Boating, head strategy, partnerships, and international collaboration, Food and Drugs Authority, formerly FDB. When you were FDB, it was strong. You were closing shops down. I mean, up and down. Okay. All right. So thank you very much. We would want to move straight into the discussions. Yes. So the first round. I want one microphone. This one. Yes. Okay. So we would want to start with no order, but since Mr. Edwin is here with us, what's the role? What is the role and the contribution of business association networks like yours in promoting innovation ecosystem? And this may also go for a number of you. So the role that your institution play in the ecosystem by way of promoting innovation.
Thank you. I work with Social Enterprise Ghana. We operate as a network of about 840 high-impact social entrepreneurs. In addition, we work with hubs, innovation hubs, that help in training and developing these impact businesses. And as a network, we operate in diverse ways in supporting develop social innovators, social entrepreneurs, hubs, and small businesses that address issues, social issues in particular, be it issues with food security. And research obviously plays a major role, where we collaborate with research institutions to develop data, information, and know-how to support these social businesses to grow and make more impact. Equally important is areas of policy, and I'm happy that Prof and other speakers mentioned that. Indeed, organizations on their own don't have the time and ability to engage government in developing policy and programs and interventions that support these startups or impact businesses. It is in that regard that networks like us that can mobilize people, businesses are in position to engage government to develop policies that support businesses and entrepreneurs in that regard. Thank you.
Also tell us this in line with the global story. Yes, how you are also helping within this ecosystem.
Yes, so thank you so much for that, and thanks for the invitation. So Glovo is a startup that is a tech company. It has its roots in Spain, so it was started off in Spain and has spread to various countries. So we were able to actually launch the brand here in Ghana last year. And what we do is that although most people see us as a delivery company, I'm sure you've seen some couriers on the road with bicycles or motorbikes and yellow bags on the back of their bike. What we do is that we're actually not only a profit-oriented company, but we are also social impact-minded. So wherever we operate, we want to make sure that we have net zero carbon emissions. We also cultivate SMEs. We cultivate a structure or an environment for entrepreneurs to thrive. So currently in Ghana, for example, we have close to 2,000 partners that collaborate with us in Accra, Tema, and Kumasi, and over 90% of those are actually SMEs. So we work to support them and to help grow their businesses. And there are various stories of impact in terms of how businesses have been digitalized through collaborating with Glovo. And many people, this is their first time putting their business online on the internet or on an app. And we also have programs that help couriers. So the couriers that collaborate with us are all freelancers. They're not employed by our company. they choose when to go online and when to make delivery. So some of them are students studying and at the University of Ghana or other institutions and decide to do this in their free time. Some of them have other jobs and also do this in addition to that. And we're actually starting a program in partnership with Impact Hub to create. It's almost like an incubator for any courier that is interested in starting a business. We actually help them to develop the skills that they need and the tools that they need to be able to build a successful business. So that's a little bit about Glovo and then the role that we are playing in ecosystem building and innovation.
Thank you, Mrepa. Also, maybe respond to this in line with the Mrepa story.
Thank you very much. So Mrepa Capital is one of the enterprise support organizations, and what we do is to implement some of the development projects that the DFIs have. And in addition to that, we also provide other capacity building and...
What's the DFI?
Development Finance Institutions, yes. And then we also have other capacity building and investment readiness programs that we have. So that's one aspect of the business. And then the second aspect is an impact fund that we are currently raising that is going to be investing in Ghanaian SMEs that are looking for financing in the missing middle. And for us at Mrepa, we are very engaged in the ecosystem and in building the ecosystem. And so some of the things that we've done is supported with the setup of IIGH, which is Impact Investing Ghana, and then also with the Ghana Venture Capital and Private Equity Association as well. Thank you.
This one. Good. So the rep from the Mr. Batplanch from NEIP, you would have to take it from as a body, a government institution. Actually, it's like a special purpose vehicle put up to help the young entrepreneurs. So on your side, what are some interventions that you've come up with? And then how did you plan these interventions? How did you open it up? And then did you get people? And what have you done to them so far? And what can be some of the stories? It's 2 or 3 in 1.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Good morning. I'm excited to be part of this program. I think we are looking at how we can grow the ecosystem so that it can be a place where we all feel comfortable to invest in and continue to grow our economy. So NEIP, National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, is a flagship program of the president since 2017, has been in existence for like 5 years now. And what NEIP has been able to do, actually the objective of NEIP is to provide an integrated national system whereby startups and small businesses can be provided funding. And so over the past 5 years, we have been able to train over 45,000 young entrepreneurs. We've provided funding for 9,350 of them. And the funding ranges between 10,000 cities to 100,000 cities. But actually this year, through the YouStart program, we want to make the minimum 20,000 and a maximum 400,000, based on how the credit assessment of the entrepreneurs who are applying are being graded, and then these fundings are being provided for them. But over the period, we've been able to have quite a number of programs. For example, the Presidential Business Support Program. And that's where we provide 10,000 cities to 100,000 to those individuals. We've been able to have, I think, about 3 presidential pitches where young entrepreneurs who are basically students in schools pitch. About 20 of them go to the finals. Then they pitch their ideas to the president. And almost each year, 1 million Ghana cedis is invested in all these 20 individuals, based on how they rank. And then we've been able to see how innovative the young entrepreneurs have been. I remember one of them from KNUST, the lady, I think Ernestina or so, she was doing something amazing by converting plantain into parts, yeah. So there have been quite a number of innovative programs through the presidential pitch that have been supported. We've had the Student Entrepreneurship Initiative, which is growing in the senior high schools, where we want to inculcate entrepreneurship in the young students so that when they also come out of school, at least the mindset of I want government to employ me, I want to be engaged by government. I mean, we're trying gradually to erase all these notions so that we can have more entrepreneurs to employ actually a lot of people. That's basically the reason why we are in the senior high schools. Also, persons with disability, they actually pay. I mean, all the funding that we are giving are not free. They are paid back. Yes, because after we've invested in you, it's not free money. It's not free government money. So you pay back with an interest rate of just 10%. Unlike the other banks that are killing entrepreneurs with all these high rates. For persons with disability, actually, they pay half of the funding that is being given to them. And there's no interest. So if you're giving 10,000, you just pay 5,000 Ghana cedis back. And all these programs, we've tried our best to monitor all these programs and see the progress that they are going. Because as you are able to make good use of the funding, we're also able to pump in more fund into your business because we have been able to track, most especially the number of people that you are also able to employ, because that is the reason why we are giving you fund, and not basically just to invest in your business and don't employ anybody, but the number of jobs that you're able to create, and also not just creating the jobs, but paying them well enough so that they can also be able to sustain themselves with what they do. We also provide tax incentives to young entrepreneurs. I think if you are less than the age of 35 years, you can apply through NERP for tax incentives. We just lead you through the GRA and then they grant you the incentive. So, I mean, these among many other things we're doing at NERP to ensure that more funding is provided for young entrepreneurs.
Quite interesting. And because you are coming from the government institution, that's why gave you a lot of issues to talk on. Yeah, so but I'm also from a government institution, but you look at things from a different perspective. Yeah, so what conscious support are you or intervention have you put in place to help enterprises move from the lab to the marketplace? Because you provide the bridge. Because before it moves from lab to the marketplace, they bring the prototypes, you do the checks, all the do's and don'ts, and then the checklist. You do that. And if you are to strictly enforce that, it will be difficult for some of them to also come up. In your institution, what are you doing consciously to also support this move?
Okay, thank you. Before I go ahead, I've had an issue. I just started speaking about what we do without saying what FDA does. So let me just give you a brief background of what FDA does. And I can just say by way of all of us gathered here, you wake up in the morning and I'm assuming the first thing you try to do is to go to the bathroom and brush your teeth. The toothbrush, FDA regulates that. When the toothpaste that you put on the toothbrush, FDA regulates that as well. When you're done, you take a shower. The soap that you use to take the shower, FDA regulates that. When you are done with taking a shower and you put on your pomade, the lotion, FDA regulates that. So FDA regulates most of the things in our lives. When you're done and maybe you're on some medication, high blood pressure medication, whatever it may be, FDA regulates that as well. So by nature of the work that we do, we regulate food, drugs, cosmetics, clinical trials, and various things in life. And food and drugs is something that you take internally. So when it comes to that area, it's a bit delicate. That's why you had said earlier that, you know, we're enforced and we're trying to make things difficult. But what it is that, let's say the milk that you had taken today, or you had given milk to your child for breakfast, and there was some contamination. The child had a stomach problem and you took the child to the hospital and it was very acute, and before you know, you're taking your child to the morgue. That's a mistake you cannot reverse. And that's the weight of the work that we do. What we do impacts life. And when we make mistakes, you can't take it back. And so we attach a lot of importance to the work that we do. And that's why sometimes it comes across as we're harsh enforcers. Saying that though, we realize that we have gotten to where we are as FDA
because we allowed for innovation. It takes innovation for us to be able to move to the next step. It takes innovation for us to be able to improve. And so we think of how, day in and day out, how we can make our processes simple and how we can make our processes friendly for innovation without compromising safety. And with that said, what we have done mostly for innovation, you had mentioned what are some of the things that we do, is that we have introduced a system, a scheme called the PLS, the Progressive Licensing Scheme. So what that does is that when you come to the FDA, you have something new or something that you're trying to bring to the market, you wouldn't have to fulfill all, like 100% of the requirements. We have put it in sections. So there's a basic section that you have to fulfill to make sure that whatever you're bringing to the market is safe. And that will constitute about, let's say, about 40%. So when you get to that 40%, we give you a license, like a marketing authorization to be able to sell. And when that happens, we don't leave you there. So we work with you from that, let's say, 40% to the 70% and give you a yellow license. And we continue to give you a green license when you get to the 100%. So now you don't have to wait to fulfill all righteousness to get that license. We know that there are people who are innovative, people who want to bring their goods to market, and by way of being able to support them, we give you this graded scheme so that will allow you to take your products to market whilst we work with you to get to the 100%. Thank you.
For that, I'll take the second round. And from the Social Enterprise Group, 2 questions. The first one has to do with what's your scope? Are you across the country, and how is your structure? And then, and specifically, how are you collaborating with all the stakeholders within the young, emerging ecosystem to the innovation space? How are you collaborating with them?
Thank you. The social challenges we are confronted with in Ghana are across the board. It does mean that the social innovators, the social entrepreneurs, we have dotted all across Ghana. So our operations are nationwide. We have 16 regional leads with 16 incubation hubs across Ghana that help in training, incubating, grooming these young social entrepreneurs to address the common challenges that we are confronted with. I believe platforms like this also give us the opportunity to collaborate. So in this regard, we organize regular workshops, regular policy dialogues with relevant government institutions, many a time with Ministry of Trade and Industry, Ministry of Finance, and our very good friends from NEIP. These are platforms that allow social entrepreneurs, social innovators to engage relevant stakeholders to solve and address the peculiar challenges that they are confronted with. Indeed, the other leg of this, what we most always refer to as the financing leg, is one of the things that we believe that our partnership with organizations like Impact Investing Ghana and other like-minded organizations, where we organize deals room in collaboration with the Ghana Investment Promotion Council, Ministry of Finance. These are engagements that I believe would inure to the benefit of the various social enterprises and entrepreneurs we have been working with. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam from Glovo. Also, we want to know, one, your spread across the country, and do you have a conscious department or unit that looks at innovation, and then how you bring this innovation into your practice?
Yeah, so currently in terms of our geographical coverage, we're in 3 cities, as I mentioned, Accra, Tema, Kumasi. That would probably change before the end of the year. We actually have a whole department that focuses on innovation.
So that would change. What's in the pipeline, and where are the possible areas we are looking at? Just for someone from the university in Somanya is here. Then Prof. Kumasi, Americans, they also want to know.
Kumasi, we already.
Oh, Kumasi. Okay, yes. So the environs to Sunyani and the rest. There are people here from Ho and the rest. Tamale.
So, the way in which we assess our location, we use a number of metrics, including population, internet penetration. There's a number of different factors we consider before making a decision as to which location to expand to. So as I sit here, I cannot tell you where we're going to be going next, but we will be expanding to various cities. What we do in terms on the innovation side, we're doing a lot of things that have never been done in our industry before. So when you look at our market, for example, we're the first online aggregator of this sort that's offering entrepreneurship classes to our couriers. We have something called the Courier Trampoline, and the whole idea is that a trampoline is something that you jump on and then it pushes you. So we don't want our couriers to be in a situation where they're in the same position, but we want them to progress economically. So we have a path, and some of the KPIs that we use to assess our performance is how much is my courier earning on a weekly basis, for example. We have tools that calculate and project how many orders we expect to be doing, and then we calculate how many couriers we would need for that period of time in order to make sure that we don't have couriers that are online and are not receiving any orders and are sitting around. So we want to make sure that for the hours that you're able to go online and make yourself available, you're able to make a livable wage that's going to, serve you basically, and it's above the minimum wage. So we're one of the first international collaborators in Ghana that was assessed actually by Fair Work. Fair Work is an independent body that assesses how the gig economy is treating the people that are collaborating on there, because it's something that is here to stay and it's growing. And we actually received first place in terms of the international companies that are here in Ghana on how we are collaborating with these couriers and how we work with them. So that's one of the ways in which we are being very innovative. And I think another aspect of the innovation is also to do with focusing on market penetration. So we don't want to have a product that's just focused on the middle class or the elite, but we want the products that anybody can access. Just like anybody can pick up their phone and go on Google or Facebook, anybody should be able to pick up their phone and make an order for a service through an app and not be limited by price. So we are working a lot on innovation when it comes to different price points and making sure that we're able to penetrate across different market levels using innovative business models. So that's where we are at on the global side.
Yes, thank you very much. I like the KPI side, the key performance indicators, so that you can make key decisions with your indicators and know whether you are measuring growth and where you can also cut in. So the Mirepa Capital, on your side, we would also want to know, do you have a conscious effort? Have you made any conscious effort by way of intervention to look at how you would bring in innovation in what you do and how to scale it up in your operations? And if you can also give us a sense of how you are covered within the system. How many people are you, your catchment area, who are you looking at? Yeah, so 2 in 1.
All right, thank you very much. So we are based in Accra. However, we are able to provide our services across Ghana. And so we've worked in the northern region, in Upper East and Upper West. And we've done some work in the Volta region and the Eastern region as well. And then also we are able to work across Africa because we've supported some programs for Reach for Change in Ethiopia. And this, incidentally, was even during the COVID year in 2020. And so we were coordinating and putting programs together for entrepreneurs in Ethiopia and working with consultants in 3 or 4 different regions, 3 or 4 different time zones. And so now we realize that we're able to provide our support to entrepreneurs wherever they are, because we are able to reach them, and because we also have had experience working with entrepreneurs from other African countries. In some of these countries, we understand what the context is, and we're able to relate that to what their needs are for, on the ground. So that is how at Mirepa we are also using some technology advancements and innovations to provide us services to entrepreneurs, not only in Ghana, but also outside Ghana.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bart Plange, NEIP. I know you are covered across the country. That one, I'm aware of that. What we would want to know is, is it just open, the interventions that you have? Do you make conscious effort to put in some, in terms of your indicators for support, do you put in some indicators relating to innovation in there? And how do you assess that? And can you give us a view, as you said, the story of NEIP for the past 5 years, what that has been?
Okay, so in assessing the persons that have applied through NEIP, actually we are covered across the country through the training hubs that we use to train the entrepreneurs that apply to NEIP for funding. And so there is an assessment that has been provided for all these incubation hubs that are doing the intro to know how innovative the idea the particular entrepreneur who is actually seeking the funding is actually having. And then we're able to know the amount of money to be able to invest in these projects. Because if you look at some ideas, when they come in, you are giving them half of what they are looking for. Actually, the money goes waste, because eventually you are not actually able to meet whatever the person needs the required funding for. And so once we're able to assess it with our incubation hubs who are across the country and train, then they will report to the NEIP office that we believe that these businesses are viable for funding, and when you provide the funding, this is what they're able to do. We have an M&E that will also assess all these criteria, go to the field, meet up with the persons who have actually applied, get to know what they're actually doing, and then be able to provide the funding for. Because there's a conception that because it's government money, it's free money, you can just apply to NEIP and get a funding for your project. But no, actually you go through quite, I wouldn't say a tedious process, but you'd actually go through a rigorous means to get to the funding, so that when you get it, you don't realize that no, it's not free money. Because if it's free money, we just call names and then you come and get it. And so that's what NEIP is doing. So over the past 5 years, as I mentioned, we have been able to train over 45,000. Now, these individuals who actually apply to NEIP go through training. That is the first requirement, because when we look at the numbers that are applying, if you actually are giving the monies out because they are applying for applying sake, the monies go away. They don't actually put the monies to judicious use. And eventually, we are unable to achieve the main target for which NEIP has been set up to do. And so after that, then you pitch your business also as well to the incubation hubs who are well-trained investors to be able to assess all these businesses. And then we're able to know that, okay, then let's provide funding for these businesses. There are other innovative persons that we have come across also that, I mean, once we're able to know that these businesses are good, we can also provide these funding for them. And so that's what we've been able to do. So the process of our application, when it's open, individuals apply online. But eventually, I think after the first call for applications in 2018, we realized that there were other individuals who actually were unable to apply online. So in the subsequent one, in the second one, we made the forms, I mean the hard copies also available at all the district assemblies across the country. So that when you just walk to any district assembly, you are provided these hard copies, which is then forwarded to NEIP. So that we are able to capture all these individuals who are also unable to access the internet. And so in 2019, our form of doing the training was actually a district-based training. So in all the districts across the country, that's how we're able to provide the training and also provide the funding for the individuals that did. And this year we have the Ghana Cares of Batampa program, where we have the Youth Innovative Agric project. We made a call for application in February, and 26,000 Ghanaian young entrepreneurs want to venture into agric. And that's a huge investment that NEIP is looking at, providing adequate funding for every single individual who has actually applied, because we want to grow the agricultural space, because that is the future of this country. If we are unable to feed ourselves, then we are doomed as a nation. And so these are some of the things that NEIP as part of the government project to ensure that adequate funding is provided for entrepreneurs. We are doing our best to provide for them.
Let me just give a quick one, a follow-up. So with this, has it come to the time that those who got the support, the first batch, the repayment schedule, have you started any forms of repayment, and how has it been?
Oh yeah, once in those who were given funding in 2018, they are given a 1-year moratorium. So after 2018, 2019 you have to start paying. 2020 you have to finish. But unfortunately, normally some businesses will not be able to provide payback within the period, and so it was extended. And also, unfortunately, there was COVID. So then the president said, all these individuals, give them adequate time. So then this year, we resumed in January, whereby they have to pay all those monies back. Yes.
So it's not that because there's COVID, they shouldn't pay.
No.
They've been given a longer...
you've been given a longer period. Okay. And also, there are some businesses, they won't be able to pay those monies back. We have to be very frank with ourselves, because let's say, for example, poultry. If the person invested in chickens and then eventually they die, they can't pay the money back. That's the reality. And so then we have to assess all these things. Either they are bad debts, or we have to look at ways and means to also push some monies into those businesses.
I get you. All right. I think with this, maybe it should be built in the model. It should be built in the model that there are some businesses, so you leave room for, because if you go the chicken way, somebody will tell you some seedling something. Yeah. Coconut slowly shoot to come. Then some plants will not also work. The northern region, where there's only one rainfall, you go plant at the wrong time. Then maybe it must be planned.
The monitoring and evaluation team know how to deal with all these things when they come up. So,
right. Thank you very much. So, Madam, from FDA, you've given us some form of staggered approach to what you look out for, by way of not looking out for the 100% compliance at the start. So you're giving us the yellow light, the green light, and the rest. So on your part, we would also want to ask that in the space of innovation, and then what has been the numbers, and from where you sit, from the strategic side, what has been the performance of this innovation enterprises that have made applications to you, and what's the penetration like for us?
Okay, thank you. So looking at the numbers, a lot of the innovators or people that come are mostly micro, small and medium-sized enterprises. So based on that, we have also looked to see how we can support that industry as well. So for instance, in that area, one thing that we have done is that for FDA, we have reduced our fees from what it used to be, so that, when people are starting very, very small, they do not have a lot of money, access to finance, like we're saying. So we reduced our fees in that light. Another thing that we've done too is that there are a lot of innovators coming from different places. Someone might have a very good product, but they might not know even how to go through the processes, and they're even intimidated. Hey, going to the FDA and all the paperwork, yes. So now we have a clientele that is dedicated to that. They will actually sit with the person and help the person to fill out the paperwork so that it makes it easier. Another thing that we've done too is that, for you to be regulated and, have market authorization, we used to have a tall list of paperwork. We've reduced our forms to make it simpler, so that it also reduces the turnaround time. Like the gentleman was saying that, government agencies, we don't have 6 months to wait. So we've reduced the amount of forms so that it will reduce the amount of time that we can give the authorization for the person to market. For inventors and for people coming up, they do not have that luxury of time. So that is why we have done that as well. Another main thing too that we always do is that we have a department dedicated called the Industrial Support Department. So even if you bring up something and it doesn't work out, we come and look at the manufacturing place and we say that you have failed, we do not leave you there. We have that team that will come back to your factory and say that, you know what, you failed because of A, B, and C, and then we help you and say that now you need to move this equipment here, you need to do that so that you can pass and be on your way to do what you're doing. So those are the things that we have put in place.
Thank you very much. And I think Time is not on our side. I'll just give you a minute each to tell us how you would want or how you make your activities public, or how do you communicate some of the good things that we are doing, and how do you scale it up and let the public know that this is what you are doing. So from the social enterprise side, are you open to everyone? How do you get your people on board, and what you are doing? Who and who do you give the information to so that they can also get access to what you do?
Yeah.
In a minute.
Thank you. Yes. So as an ecosystem, we work with researchers, to academia, to investors, to policymakers, what have you. So we communicate using our various social media platforms, using the mainstream media to just showcase all the things that we are doing. And I believe platforms like this are opportunities for us to engage relevant stakeholders and ecosystem builders. Thank you for giving us that opportunity.
Good. Glovo, should I ask you the same question? Because you are all over already. Is it a conscious effort, and what do you do?
I think for businesses, right, one thing I would take away from our discussion today is for businesses in Ghana especially to really leverage data. A lot of times people make decisions on business without necessarily having access to the correct data. And one thing I've noticed with companies that are being very successful is the amount of information they have access to just to make a decision. Now, I'll give just one quick example of an entrepreneur in Kumasi. She had a small tabletop restaurant, like just selling food to people. And in December, one of my sales staff met with her and was trying to convince her to join Glovo. Now, she was on the verge of closing down the business because she was like, the students are not around. She's not making sales. It doesn't make sense for her to stay open. So at that point, she was actually going to close up the business and find something else to do. Now, my salesperson convinced her just to join Glovo for 1 month and just to see how it goes, and then make the decision after that. After 1 month, this tabletop business had made 6,000 Ghana cedis worth of revenue. She's still open today, still running. But the difference between a business that was about to close because of failure and a business that is still operational today was data. She now has access to what products is a top-selling top-selling product, what combinations people do, what people normally buy together, what time of the day people are specifically buying, what areas they are at when they are buying, the seasonality. So there's a lot that goes into that to be able to make sure that the business is successful. And I think it's one thing that's missing from a lot of Ghanaian business is data-driven decisions. So that's what I would take away from today.
Good. Data-driven decisions. Data-driven decisions. So decisions should be based on research. Mirepa, how do you also communicate your activities to the general public and to your key stakeholders?
So for us also, it's mainly through a lot of these forums, working through the other ecosystem partners, partnering with other organizations that are doing similar things that we are doing. And so that is how we get to, provide a lot of our services. And for entrepreneurs out there, I would add that there is help for you. You don't have to face all the challenges by yourself. There is help out there. If you're thinking about going global, if you're thinking about being able to scale your business and take your products and services, make them available to others outside, there is help that you can receive to do that. Thank you.
I like that. Mirepa is giving us some comfort. Yes, Nep, I know you've made a number of adverts, call for proposals and all that. But do you consciously put this out, and how do you also monitor it to see the number of people you are reaching out to? And does it help you to make decisions there?
Yeah, I think over the years, we have, from the past experience, has made us realize that we have to make a conscious effort to ensure that, the news of NEIP is reaching out to every single individual, especially young entrepreneurs who are seeking for funding, so that they get to know about government's conscious effort to provide adequate funding to support whatever they are doing. And so initially, after the first call for applications in 2018, There were calls that they don't hear about the applications and all that. So then we had to, anytime we want to make the call, we had to organize either a press conference or find ways and means to get the dailies and then the television stations, talking more about NEIP so that people get to know more about it. We also have social media platforms that anytime there is a call for application, not only in the presidential business support, I mean, through all these programs, we'll be able to have partnerships with the Global Affairs Canada. We have been able to have the platforms with the World Bank, GIZ. I mean, they come in with funding to support programs like the Women in TVET and all that. And so, yeah, so there have been a conscious effort to ensure that it gets out there, people get to know about it, and then people get to apply so that we can provide it, because there are a lot of people out there who are doing a lot of innovative ideas. And also, if you know any person who is doing something innovative, just let NEIP know about it. We'll provide funding for those individuals, because that's why it's been set up by the government. Thank you.
Good. Madam Nana Sewa Boati. Yes, this thing that you've told us about the way you've staggered your regimes, have you made it known to some of these industry bodies? Maybe Association of Ghana Industries. They have various sections. The micro level, the small level, the medium level. Have we met them in their industrial hubs, in their connect? Have you made that conscious effort to explain these things to them so that they are not afraid to come to you? Some of us have been victims of your long checklist. We're trying to export some share butter together with your senior brother or your colleagues, Ghana Standard Authority. We had to run away. So have you made it known to them so that they can see you as partners and come for that sort?
Thank you. We have made it known to them, and another thing that we're doing now is that we have a communications department that actually goes out to share this information so that everyone gets to know. We have a lot of stakeholder engagement. We have a whole lot of pull-up banners and everything about PLS. So it's one of the vehicles that we are using to let everybody know that, you can come to the FDA and we can work with you. And I like you, as you were saying, you spoke about export. And my advice is that now with the African Continental Free Trade Area, that is a big opportunity now. You just don't have to look at Ghana. You have to look at Ghana and beyond. If you're bringing something up, just don't say, oh, I'm trying to do something small, let me tie it and sell it to Ghana. Think about how you can come to the FDA, make sure it's well regulated. We have an import and export department that would help you so that product that you have.
Mrepa Capital Limited. Then Mr. Bat Planch from NEP. Yes, and also Nana Sewa Boati, also from Food and Drugs Authority. Yes, not board, Food and Drugs Authority. Thank you very much. So from here, we would all move out. The terrace will have our picture section, and then we come back for the second panel discussion. So we would move straight down there. Someone can lead us out there so that we take our pictures, then we come back. Thank you. So, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes. Nice one. Time is not outside, but we're trying to rush it. But don't rush it too much to also lose the sense. Good afternoon to you all. You're welcome back to this session. Okay, so we have this found. Is it missing or found? No, found. On your part, it will be missing. So we have it here at the back. Contact us for identification and collection. All right, so we are all welcome back to the second session. Professor Akulache would take us through. She would introduce herself and introduce the panel. Then we start the roundtable discussion. So I give the mic to her.
Yeah. Thank you. I live here and there. I'm currently at the University of Toronto. So I live here and there. In Ghana, I've been here since August. I am currently at the University of Toronto. And very pleased to
I think get the microphone closer.
very pleased